And welcome back to another daily devotion. I am Pastor Roy here at Woodlawn Christian Church in Lake City, Iowa, and this devotion is for Wednesday, March 3rd of 2024. We are in the Gospel of Mark, and we have made it to the 14th chapter, and we're working our way, I should say, through the 14th chapter. We're in verses 43 to 52. For chapter 14 is a fairly long chapter, we might add. We left off yesterday with verse 42, Jesus saying, "Rise, let us be going. See, my betrayer is at hand." He's been going to pray in the garden and coming back, and they've all been sleeping. And the third time he says to them, "Come on, what's going on?" And then, "Rise, let us be going. See, my betrayer is at hand." And Judas is coming up the walk with the guards to arrest him. So with that, let's jump into verses 43 to 52, chapter 14 in Mark's Gospel, and then we'll talk about it a little bit, shall we? And immediately, while he was still speaking, Judas came, one of the 12, and with him a crowd with swords and clubs from the chief priests and the scribes and the elders. Now the betrayer had given them a sign, saying, "The one I shall kiss is the man. Seize him and lead him away under guard." And when he came, he went up to him at once and said, "Master," and he kissed him. And they laid hands on him and seized him. But one of those who stood by drew his sword and struck the slave of the high priest and cut off his ear. And Jesus said to them, "Have you come out as against a robber with swords and clubs to capture me? Day after day I was with you in the temple teaching, and you did not seize me. But let the scriptures be fulfilled." And they all forsook him and fled. And a young man followed him with nothing but a linen cloth about his body. And they seized him, but he left the linen cloth and ran away naked. Okay. Let's deal with the last two verses first and then go back to the rest of it. 51, 52 are not in any of the other Gospels. We have this young man that follows him. He's the only, the others are already took off. This one follows along with Jesus. He is wearing a bed sheet, for want of a better word, a tunic, apparently not fastened in any way. And they start following him, and then the guards try to grab him, and he slips away and leaves his linen cloth behind and flees naked, exposed to the world, the nakedness of it all. There are those that believe that's John Mark himself, that he is portrayed in the gospel, and he's the only one that wrote it because he was the only one that cared about it. I don't know. We can say that by any stretch of the imagination. First of all, we don't know if Mark wrote the gospel. We don't know for sure who the author was. That is church lore, and so this is also church lore. I don't know that it's really. It is interesting because he is the only one that follows along. He's the only one that doesn't immediately forsake Jesus and just take off. And remember, it was just Monday. They were all swearing up and down that they were with him to the end. And if we go to John's gospel, we go all the way back to Bethany, and Thomas is saying, "Hey, even to our death, we'll go with you." And it doesn't seem to be the case here now, does it? They once the going gets rough, they take off. And let's go back to the beginning. Immediately, we haven't talked about immediately for a while, but it is all over the place in in Mark's gospel. He is always going zip, 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 and it just immediately. And immediately, well, he's still talking. He's still talking to those guys about why can't you stay awake. And Judas comes up, gives him a kiss. He's betrayed with a kiss. That whole story about being betrayed with a kiss. One so very close to Jesus is the one that has literally stabbed him in the back, or figuratively, we should say, stabbed him in the back. We've all been through that time in our life where somebody that we trusted has wronged us, done something that happens in ministry a lot. Somebody to trust, either trust to keep something confidential or trust whatever way, and all of a sudden now they're working against you. But we see that in all walks of life. We see that in marriages. You have betrayal of one spouse against the other. You have infidelity, what have you. But just as in this case, I don't know that what is the motive that Judas had for this betrayal. I don't often think that infidelity is the actual motive. I usually think what my experience has been, it's a symptom of the problem, not the real problem. So the real problem here is, what was the real problem with Judas? Was it greed? Was it money that led him to betray it? That would be what John's gospel would certainly lead you to believe. Or could it be, as some believe, that Judas was a zealot and he got tired of waiting around? This taking a soft way around things. Let's let the fighting start. Let's get it on, as they say. Let's get the battle started. And perhaps he thought that by bringing them there, and as soon as they tried to arrest Jesus, that Jesus would go and bring in an army of angels, and then the fight would start, and Judas could say, "Hey, I'm on your side, actually." We don't know that either, but that is something that I find interesting. What exactly was his motive there? What was the reason for him to do this to Jesus? We just don't know for sure. But it is a question we should ask when someone betrays us. What was their motive? What was the reason for this? We may never find out, just like here. Happens that way in divorces. When I'm counseling people for marriages, I always am well aware of the fact that the problems that they're having are generally not the problems they're telling me about. The problem that the real problem is when they won't give up. They won't bring it up. And oftentimes, because whoever the one is that's having the issue can't bring it up. And maybe Judas can bring it up. We don't know. But anyway, I digress. When we have these situations, though, when people stab us in the back, people betray us, just as we talked about yesterday, with Jesus being able to empathize with us when we're in a time of anguish and misery. Jesus can empathize with us when we've been betrayed. We can come to him and plead with him and unburden ourselves, I should say, with him. And he has total empathy because he's been betrayed by someone that dearly loved him, someone that would come to him and kiss him on the cheek to show who he was, and of all things call him master. So the depth with which Jesus can empathize with us is really pretty profound. And now the beginning of the end, as they say. That's where we're going to leave it at. Tomorrow, Jesus before the council. Have a blessed day. Be a blessing to someone today. And if you like these devotions, please like and subscribe. Come on back again. Feel free to share them. Make a kind comment if you like. Most of all, just come back. God bless you. God loves you. Bye-bye.